The outcome of a baseball game is never decided by numbers alone. Scoreboards may record runs and statistics, but sometimes a game is transformed by something far greater, the unstoppable will of human beings who refuse to give up. And on May 25th at Dodger Stadium, that invisible force turned an ordinary night into one of the most unforgettable comeback stories fans had witnessed all season. The atmosphere inside the stadium had already started to sink into despair. The Dodgers were struggling once again, and you could feel the frustration spreading through the crowd like a heavy fog. Fans lowered their heads. Some stared silently at the field as if they already knew how the night would end. It felt like another painful defeat was only moments away. But then, everything changed. In a single explosive moment, every prediction, every statistic, and every ounce of doubt was completely shattered by a miraculous comeback that no one saw coming. The entire stadium erupted into chaos. It was the kind of moment that reminds people why sports can never truly be controlled by logic alone. What made this scene even more incredible was the reaction from two world-class champions watching from the stands. Why were these legendary athletes frozen in shock on the edge of their seats? And why did their emotions completely collapse moments later as the game turned upside down? Because hidden behind that dramatic comeback, local media cameras had captured something extraordinary. A major league legend who witnessed the moment later described it perfectly. He said that when he saw elite athletes from completely different sports trembling with excitement and losing themselves in the emotion of the moment, he immediately realized this was no ordinary regular season game. This was history unfolding in real time. Only athletes who have stood at the absolute peak of world competition can understand the invisible pressure, emotion, and greatness that existed in that stadium that night. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving deep into the unbelievable truth behind one of the most emotional nights Dodger Stadium has seen this year. Stay with us until the very end, because this story goes far beyond baseball. Using local reports, live reactions, and behind-the-scenes details from the stadium itself, we're about to uncover the full story of this historic night. Before the dramatic comeback even began, Dodger Stadium was already buzzing with excitement because of one major announcement: the return of Teoscar Hernandez to the starting lineup. To casual fans, it may have seemed like just another player returning from injury, but to those who truly understand the emotional heartbeat of a clubhouse, it meant much more than that. Hernandez is not simply a talented player. He is an emotional spark plug capable of changing the energy of an entire team the moment he walks into the room. During warm-ups, the crowd exploded the instant he appeared near Shohei Ohtani on the field. The roar from the stadium was deafening. According to local sound measurements taken during the game, the crowd reaction at that exact moment was the loudest Dodger Stadium had recorded all month. That overwhelming energy became the perfect foreshadowing for what was about to happen. Suddenly, the heavy atmosphere created by recent losses disappeared completely. Baseball analysts often ignore concepts like momentum, energy, and emotional flow because they cannot be measured with numbers. But players can feel those things instantly. And for Shohei Ohtani, having the stadium emotionally alive again clearly lifted a tremendous amount of pressure from his shoulders. As tens of thousands of fans roared around the stadium, cameras from local media quietly turned toward a special VIP section. And that was where they spotted them. Sitting together were Japanese figure skating superstars Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara. Only moments earlier, the pair had delivered a beautiful ceremonial first pitch appearance while speaking emotionally about supporting Japanese athletes competing overseas. As Olympic-level athletes who have performed under unimaginable pressure on the world stage, they understand focus, nerves, and mental intensity better than almost anyone. But then came the final at bat, and suddenly, something changed. The cameras captured expressions from the pair that fans had never seen before. Despite their years of performing calmly under Olympic pressure, Miura and Kihara looked completely overwhelmed, almost like children watching their hero perform a miracle right before their eyes. Riku Miura's face tightened with anxiety as she clasped both hands together almost like she was praying. Beside her, Ryuichi Kihara could no longer sit still. his eyes locked onto number 17 on the field as he followed every movement with complete intensity. Reporters at the stadium later described the moment perfectly. They said that the same athletes who usually display absolute calmness on Olympic ice had suddenly transformed into passionate, emotional fans completely consumed by the moment. That was the true gravity of Shohei Ohtani's presence. His influence now goes far beyond baseball itself. It crosses sports, cultures, and even generations. Numbers alone cannot explain the emotional pull that someone like Ohtani creates. And then, destiny arrived. The Dodgers had been trapped in a frustrating game all night. The pressure kept building inning after inning. But just when defeat seemed inevitable, reality suddenly turned into something that felt scripted straight out of a Hollywood movie. The game-winning hit exploded into the night air. The instant the ball connected, Dodger Stadium erupted like a volcano. The roar from the crowd shook the entire stadium. And in that exact moment, the emotions of Miura and Kihara completely broke loose. The cameras caught both of them jumping up and down like excited children, celebrating with pure joy as the stadium exploded around them. The serious Olympic expressions they usually wear on the ice disappeared entirely. In their place was raw emotion, pride, excitement, and admiration bursting out uncontrollably. And that moment meant far more than simply celebrating a baseball victory. It was the emotional connection between elite athletes who understand the loneliness of carrying an entire nation's expectations on their shoulders. In that instant, two champions from the world of figure skating were witnessing another Japanese superstar achieve greatness on the biggest stage in America. Different sports, different arenas, but the same relentless pursuit of greatness. That was the true miracle inside Dodger Stadium that night. After the game ended, local analysts described the Dodgers' victory as something far greater than a statistical win. They called it a psychological triumph, a night where the unpredictable chaos of baseball collided perfectly with the overwhelming willpower of elite athletes who simply refused to lose. There is no doubt that the comeback inning on May 25th will be remembered as one of the most dramatic moments of the season. What makes the story even more fascinating is that before the game began, analysts had spent hours criticizing the Dodgers. They questioned the team's constant lineup changes. They warned that returning injured players would create chemistry problems. Some even claimed the clubhouse was slowly falling apart. Everything was reduced to cold numbers and negative projections. But the miraculous comeback that exploded inside Dodger Stadium completely destroyed every one of those theories. Because baseball has never been just about statistics. At the highest level, games are decided by emotion, pressure, courage, and the violent collision between athletes who refuse to surrender when everything is against them. And on that historic night, two living legends from the figure skating world witnessed that truth unfold with their own eyes. The return of Kike Hernandez, the impossible comeback, the eruption of the crowd, the emotional collapse of the stadium in pure joy. Everything combined into a single unforgettable day that will remain burned into the memories of everyone who experienced it. Right now, we are witnessing the creation of a completely new era built around one extraordinary athlete, Shohei Ohtani. He's not only rewriting the limits of baseball on the field, but somehow connecting worlds that once seemed completely separate. Every game inside Dodger Stadium now feels larger than sports itself. It feels like another chapter in a global story that millions of people across different cultures are experiencing together in real time. And perhaps that is the greatest privilege of all, being alive to witness it happen. What did you feel watching this unbelievable moment? How powerful must Shohei Ohtani's presence truly be if even two Olympic-level athletes known for their composure on the ice could lose themselves emotionally like that? At that moment inside Dodger Stadium, talents from completely different worlds resonated together on the same emotional wavelength. If this story moved you even slightly, make sure to leave your thoughts and emotions in the comments below. And if you're enjoying these deep stories that go beyond the surface of sports, don't forget to subscribe and support the channel. Your passion and support are what allow stories like this to continue reaching people around the world. But the truth is, the emotion inside Dodger Stadium did not disappear when the final out was recorded. As fans slowly poured out of the stadium into the Los Angeles night, Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara remained unusually quiet. For several moments, neither of them could find words. They simply sat there, overwhelmed by what they had just witnessed, a victory created entirely by human determination. Riku Miura stared down at her trembling hands, still shaking slightly from the excitement, before quietly whispering, "The power of sports is incredible." Her voice was almost swallowed by the noise around her. Beside her, Ryuichi Kihara slowly nodded while continuing to stare toward the field where Shohei Ohtani had created that unforgettable miracle moments earlier. Because athletes who have reached the top of the world understand something ordinary people cannot fully see. That final swing was not simply the trajectory of a baseball. It was the trajectory of pressure, sacrifice, responsibility, and emotion carried by one man in front of tens of thousands of people. And perhaps, for the first time, Miura and Kihara began wondering if audiences had once felt that same emotion while watching them perform on Olympic ice. That quiet realization could almost be seen on their faces. Even after retiring from competition, they could still recognize greatness instantly when it appeared in front of them. And the gravity surrounding Shohei Ohtani that night was impossible to ignore. As the two athletes walked through the stadium corridors toward the exit, their excitement still had not faded. The feeling of connecting with the ball in that moment. "Maybe it's similar to when we perfectly match our timing during a lift or rotation," Miura said excitedly, while using hand gestures to explain the sensation. Kihara immediately replied, "No, the mental strength required to swing in that situation is on another level entirely." As fellow performers who understand extreme concentration under pressure, they found themselves deeply admiring Ohtani's ability to remain calm in a moment that could have crushed most athletes. Different sports, different stages, but fundamentally the same spirit. That night, Dodger Stadium became the intersection point between two worlds of greatness. After the game, local broadcasters repeatedly replayed footage of Miura and Kihara reacting in the stands during special television coverage. Commentators emotionally described the scene as Japanese heroes being moved to tears by another hero. It became a symbol of something bigger than competition itself. A beautiful moment where national borders, sports categories, and professional rivalries disappeared, leaving behind only pure admiration between elite athletes. Online, the emotional reactions continued exploding across social media. Seeing Riku and Ryuichi celebrate Ohtani like that somehow made the moment even more emotional. "One true champion recognizes another." Comments like these flooded the internet throughout the night. And in a world increasingly obsessed with statistics, rankings, and cold analysis, moments like this remind people why sports matter so deeply in the first place. Because sports are ultimately human drama. Even the analysts who spent the entire week criticizing the Dodgers with endless statistics were suddenly forced into silence. Their predictions about chemistry problems and instability collapsed in front of the reality unfolding on the field. The return of Kike Hernandez changed the emotional energy of the dugout. Shohei Ohtani delivered the decisive blow, and somehow, everything connected together like a perfectly written story. As Miura and Kihara finally left the stadium and looked out quietly over the glowing Los Angeles streets, Kihara suddenly smiled and said something hopeful. "Someday, I want us to create this kind of excitement on a professional stage too." Riku immediately nodded with a huge smile on her face. Even though their competitive careers may have ended, a new challenge for the two of them is only beginning. And just as they promised during their ceremonial appearance earlier that day, their true nature will never change. They will continue supporting each other side by side while pushing toward new forms of expression and new dreams beyond the ice. In many ways, that journey mirrors Shohei Ohtani's own path. As long as Ohtani continues creating a new era in baseball, countless other gifted athletes around the world will continue rewriting history within their own sports as well. And honestly, Those of us lucky enough to witness this era are living through something special. The excitement of May 25th inside Dodger Stadium will never truly disappear. The unforgettable ceremonial first pitch from Miura and Kihara. The dramatic game-winning hit from Shohei Ohtani. The explosion of emotion shared by athletes and fans alike. Those moments are now permanently engraved into the history of Dodger Stadium forever. The moment of that miraculous comeback was more than just another exciting baseball highlight. It was the perfect collision of emotion, pressure, destiny, and human determination. Everyone inside Dodger Stadium became witnesses to something far bigger than a game that night. And as a completely new era begins to unfold around Shohei Ohtani, fans around the world continue watching from the best seats imaginable, not just as spectators, but as people experiencing history in real time. The support from viewers and fans has become the emotional fuel keeping these unforgettable stories alive. And that is why moments like this matter so deeply. Because beyond the numbers, beyond the wins and losses, sports reveal the raw human drama hidden underneath. Even after the game ended, the emotional aftershock refused to disappear. Local reporters continued following Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara as they slowly exited the stadium through the staff corridors. Their faces were still glowing with excitement, almost unable to process what they had just witnessed. "I still can't believe the game ended like that," Miura reportedly said, while repeatedly looking over toward Kihara with disbelief and excitement still in her voice. Beside her, Kihara quietly stared down at his own hands, as if replaying the feeling of the roaring stadium over and over in his mind. "This is the true power of world-class sports," he whispered softly. That single sentence carried deep meaning. The emotional explosion the pair showed during the comeback even shocked Major League insiders. Seeing Olympic champions become completely overwhelmed by another sport reminded everyone in the stadium just how powerful Shohei Ohtani's presence has become. The game-winning hit did more than secure victory for the Dodgers. It lit a new fire inside two athletes who already understood what it meant to perform under unimaginable pressure. The courage to risk everything in a single moment. The mental strength required to carry expectations from millions of people. Even though baseball and figure skating are completely different worlds, the height of greatness they aim for is exactly the same. At one point after the game, Kihara quietly admitted something that revealed the emotional impact of the night. "We need to carry an even stronger sense of purpose into whatever stage comes next for us." Miura listened carefully beside him before answering with a confident smile and powerful eyes full of determination. After surviving 7 difficult years together on the ice, the two no longer need many words to understand each other. Their connection exists beyond language itself. And perhaps that is the true gravity of someone like Shohei Ohtani. Real greatness does not only inspire fans, it elevates everyone around it. The comeback inside Dodger Stadium completely shattered the cold logic of statistical predictions. The hopeless atmosphere hanging over the stadium vanished instantly because one athlete refused to surrender. That was the true meaning of the comeback, a victory of human willpower over probability itself. And Miura and Kihara became the perfect witnesses to that miracle. The return of Kike Hernandez set the emotional stage. Ohtani delivered the decisive blow, and in the stands, two legendary skaters jumped and celebrated like children overwhelmed by pure joy. Every piece connected together into one unforgettable story that now feels almost mythical. What makes the story even more emotional is how deeply fans connected to the pair online afterward. Comments flooded social media throughout the night. Even after retirement, the atmosphere between them is still the most beautiful in the world. That single sentence touched thousands of people because it erased the sadness many fans felt after the pair stepped away from competition. Their bond had not weakened at all. If anything, it had become even stronger now that rankings and medals no longer defined them. What we are witnessing now may actually be the beginning of a completely new chapter in their story. Earlier in the day, Kihara spoke emotionally about wanting to continue supporting Miura from beside her no matter what challenges came next. That promise carried enormous weight. It reflected a philosophy much bigger than sports itself. True greatness is not about shining alone. It is about helping someone beside you shine even brighter. That is exactly what he demonstrated in front of tens of thousands of people at Dodger Stadium. No matter what obstacles appear in front of Miura moving forward, fans know she will never face them alone. And perhaps that is why her smile looked so genuine that night. It was the smile of someone protected by absolute trust. As trends come and go and new stories constantly replace old headlines, the miracle created by these two athletes will continue growing more meaningful with time. Because real emotional stories never disappear, they only become more valuable. So what kind of future do you imagine for them now? Will they create new magic on the ice someday? Or perhaps inspire audiences on completely different stages around the world? Whatever path awaits them, millions of fans are ready to follow. And if this story touched your heart even slightly, share your thoughts below. Every message, every comment, and every word of support becomes part of the energy pushing these stories forward. As the night finally settled over Los Angels, Miura and Kihara stopped one last time before leaving the stadium. They turned back and looked quietly across the glowing field. What reflected in their eyes at that moment was probably more than simple happiness. It was hope. Hope for the future. Hope for new challenges. And hope that somewhere ahead, another unforgettable miracle still waits for them. Their journey is far from over. And as long as people continue believing in the beauty of passion, trust, and human connection, stories like this will never truly end.